In the constantly changing environment of the legal sector in the UK, ensuring adherence to regulatory standards and ethical guidelines is critical. Enter the Compliance Officer for Legal Practice, a key employee within the organisation, tasked with upholding the integrity and compliance of legal practices. But what exactly is a Compliance Officer for Legal Practice? And what regulations do they follow? In today's video, we will be taking a look at what is a Compliance Officer for Legal Practice, COLP, their roles and responsibilities, and what regulations do they have to comply with. Hello, and welcome to another KYC Lookup video, where we bring you AML-related content to help you enhance your knowledge in the fight against money laundering. Before diving into today's video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a comment with any suggested topics you would like us to cover in the future. So, on to today's video. What is a Compliance Officer for Legal Practice, COLP? A Compliance Officer for Legal Practice, COLP, is a role designated within a law firm or legal practice to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and professional standards. This position is typically created in response to regulatory mandates imposed by legal governing bodies or professional associations in various jurisdictions. The significance of Compliance Officers for Legal Practice, COLP, in the UK legal sector. In an increasingly regulated environment, the role of Compliance Officers for Legal Practice, COLP, in the UK legal sector is more critical than ever. They provide assurance to clients, regulators and other stakeholders that the firm operates with integrity, transparency and ethical conduct. By ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements and professional standards, compliance officers safeguard the reputation of credibility of the firm, while minimising the risk of regulatory sanctions and legal liabilities. What are the key responsibilities of the Compliance Officer for Legal Practice? A Compliance Officer for Legal Practice, COLP, in the legal sector has many responsibilities. Here are some of them. Regulatory compliance. Compliance Officers for Legal Practices are responsible for ensuring that the firm complies with all relevant regulatory requirements imposed by regulatory bodies, such as the Solicitors Regulation Authority, SRA, the Law Society, and other professional regulatory bodies. This includes adherence to legislation, codes of conduct, and practice standards. Risk management. Identifying and mitigating risk is a core aspect of the compliance officer's role. They assess the firm's operations, processes and practices to identify potential areas of risk and develop strategies to manage and mitigate these risks effectively. This may involve implementing internal controls, policies and procedures to safeguard against regulatory breaches and reputational damage. Policy development and implementation. Compliance Officers for Legal Practices are responsible for developing, reviewing and implementing internal policies and procedures to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and professional standards. These policies cover a wide range of areas, including client confidentiality, data protection, anti-money laundering (AML), and conflict of interest management. Training and education. Compliance Officers for Legal Practice oversee the training and education of staff on compliance-related matters. They ensure that employees are aware of their obligations under regulatory requirements and provide ongoing training to keep them informed of changes in legislation and best practices. This helps to promote a culture of compliance within the firm and mitigate a risk of regulatory breaches. Reporting and monitoring. Compliance Officers for Legal Practice monitor the firm's compliance activities and prepare reports for senior management and regulatory authorities. They track compliance metrics, identify any areas of non-compliance or operational weaknesses, and implement remedial actions as necessary. Additionally, compliance officers for legal practice ensure that the firm maintains accurate records and documentation to support compliance efforts. What are the regulations that compliance officers for legal practice have to comply with? Compliance officers for legal practice, COLPs, typically have to comply with a range of regulations, guidelines, and professional standards that govern the legal profession. These may vary depending on the jurisdiction in which the law firm operates, but some common regulations and standards that COLPs often have to comply with include Solicitors Regulation Authority (SRA) Handbook. The SRA sets out the principles, codes of conduct and regulations that solicitors and law firms in England and Wales must adhere to. Compliance officers must ensure that their firms comply with the SRA Handbook, which covers areas such as client care, conflicts of interest, confidentiality, and professional conduct. Anti-money laundering (AML) regulations. Legal practices are subject to AML regulations, aimed at preventing money laundering and terrorist financing activities. Compliance officers must implement robust AML policies and procedures, conduct client due diligence, and report suspicious transactions to the appropriate authorities, in accordance with the money laundering regulations. Data protection laws. Compliance officers for legal practice must ensure compliance with data protection laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and the Data Protection Act 2018. This includes protecting the privacy and confidentiality of client information, obtaining consent for data processing, and implementing appropriate data security measures. Conflicts of interest rules. Legal practices must manage conflicts of interest effectively to avoid compromising their professional integrity. Compliance officers are responsible for implementing procedures to identify, assess, and manage conflicts of interest between clients and the firm, as required by the SRA Code of Conduct. Legal Services Act 2007. The Legal Services Act 2007 regulates the provision of legal services in England and Wales, and establishes the framework for the regulation of legal services providers, including alternative business structures, ABS. Compliance officers must ensure that their firms comply with the provisions of the Legal Services Act and any associated regulations. Financial Conduct Authority (FCA) regulations. Legal practices that provide certain types of financial services, such as investment advice or debt collection, may be subject to regulation by the Financial Conduct Authority. Compliance officers must ensure that their firms comply with relevant FCA regulations, including conducting appropriate due diligence on clients and maintaining adequate client money and assets procedures. Professional indemnity insurance requirements. Legal practices are required to maintain professional indemnity insurance, PII, to protect against claims of negligence or misconduct. Compliance officers must ensure that their firms have appropriate PII coverage in place and comply with the SRA's requirements for PII. These are just a few examples of the regulations and standards that compliance officers in legal sector in the UK must navigate. Compliance officers must stay well informed of changes in legislation, regulatory guidance, and best practices to ensure that their firms operate in compliance with applicable laws and regulations. How to report serious breaches of the SRA's rules as a compliance officer for legal practice in the UK. As a compliance officer for legal practice (COLP) in the UK, reporting serious breaches of the Solicitors Regulation Authority (SRA) rules is a crucial responsibility. Here are the steps you can take to report such breaches. Identify the breach. First, You need to identify and assess the seriousness of the breach of the SRA's rules. This may involve conducting an internal investigation to gather evidence and understand the scope and impact of the breach. Document the breach. Document all relevant details of the breach, including the nature of the breach, individuals involved, dates, and any evidence or documentation related to the incident. It's essential to maintain thorough and accurate records throughout the process. Report internally. Depending on the severity of the breach and your firm's internal policies, you may need to report the breach to senior management or the firm's partners. Provide them with a comprehensive report detailing the breach and your recommendations for addressing it. Take corrective action. Work with senior management and relevant stakeholders to implement corrective actions to address the breach and prevent similar incidences from occurring in the future. This may involve disciplinary action against individuals involved, changes to internal policies and procedures, or additional training and oversight measures. Consider reporting to the SRA. If the breach is serious and potentially involves a breach of the SRA's rules or principles, you may be required or choose to report it to the SRA. The SRA encourages firms to report serious breaches promptly, as failure to do so could result in regulatory action against the firm and its individuals. Report to the SRA. To report a serious breach to the SRA, you can use the SRA's online reporting form available on their website. Provide detailed information about the breach, including the circumstances, individuals involved, and any actions taken by the firm to address the breach. Coordinate with the SRA. If the SRA decides to investigate the reported breach, cooperate fully with their investigation. Provide any additional information or documentation requested by the SRA, and ensure that the firm's representatives are available to assist with the investigation as needed. Review and learn. After reporting and addressing the breach, conduct a post-incident review to identify any lessons learned and opportunities for the improvement in the firm's compliance processes and procedures. It's important to add that failure to report serious breaches to the SRA in a timely manner could result in regulatory sanctions against the firm and its individuals. Therefore, it's essential to take reporting obligations seriously and ensure compliance with the SRA's requirements. How to protect yourself as a compliance officer for legal practice (COLP) in the UK. As a compliance officer for legal practice (COLP) in the UK, it's vital to take steps to protect yourself while fulfilling your role. Here are some strategies to consider. Understand your responsibilities. Ensure that you have a clear understanding of your duties and responsibilities as a COLP. Familiarise yourself with the Solicitors Regulation Authority (SRA) Handbook, relevant regulations, and best practices for compliance in the legal profession. Stay informed. Keep up to date of the changes in regulations, guidelines, and industry trends affecting legal compliance. Regulatory review updates from regulatory authorities, attend relevant training sessions, and participate in professional development opportunities to stay informed and up to date. Document everything. Maintain thorough and accurate records of compliance activities, including risk assessment, training sessions, internal audits, and any compliance-related communications. Detailed documentation can serve as evidence of your diligence efforts to fulfill your compliance responsibilities. Establish clear policies and procedures. Work with senior management and relevant stakeholders to develop and implement comprehensive policies and procedures for compliance with regulatory requirements and best practices. Ensure that these policies are clearly communicated, understood, and followed by all staff members within the firm. Promote a culture of compliance. Foster a culture of compliance within the firm by promoting awareness of ethical standards, regulatory requirements, and the importance of compliance among lawyers and staff. Encourage open communication, transparency and accountability regarding compliance issues. Provide training and support. Offer regular training sessions and educational resources to lawyers and staff on compliance-related topics, including ethics, risk management, data protection, and professional conduct. Provide support and guidance to help individuals understand their compliance obligations and responsibilities. Seek legal advice when necessary. If you encounter complex legal or regulatory issues, seek guidance from legal counsel and other qualified professionals with expertise in compliance and regulatory matters. Consultation with legal experts can help ensure that you are making informed decisions and mitigating risks effectively. Report compliance concerns. If you become aware of potential compliance breaches or concerns within the firm, promptly report them to senior management, the firm's partners, or the appropriate regulatory authorities as required. Document your reporting efforts and follow up to ensure that appropriate action are taken to address the issues. Maintain independence and objectivity. Maintain independence and objectivity in your role as COLP and avoid conflicts of interest that could compromise your ability to fulfill your compliance responsibilities effectively. Act with integrity, honesty, and professionalism in all compliance-related matters. Seek support networks. Connect with other compliance professionals within the legal sector or through relevant professional associations to share insights, experiences, and best practices. Building a support network can provide valuable resources and guidance as you navigate your role as a COLP. By following these strategies, you can help protect yourself while fulfilling your duties as a compliance officer for legal practice in the UK. Prioritising compliance, maintaining thorough documentation, seeking support when needed, and promoting a culture of compliance within the firm are essential steps to mitigating risks and safeguarding your professional reputation. To recap today's video, compliance officers for legal practice, COLP, play a pivotal role in upholding the integrity and compliance of law firms in the UK. Their proactive approach to risk management, policy development and staff training is essential for navigating the complexities of regulatory requirements and maintaining the high standards of professionalism and ethical conduct in the legal sector. Well, there you have it. What is a compliance officer for legal practice, COLP, their roles and responsibilities, and what regulations do they have to comply with? Please tell us in the comments section if you think compliance officers for legal practice play a crucial role within an organisation, and any other topics you would like us to cover in the future. We have now launched our very own fully accredited courses for you to take a more in-depth look at a variety of subjects, such as Introduction to AML, Beneficial Ownership, and Customer Risk Rating, for example. So make sure you visit our website for further details and let us help you connect the dots in KYC. Thank you for watching the video, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to watch more amazing videos.